All right. Well, welcome everybody. Again, this is Dr. Keith Wade. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're enjoying your summer. I know a lot of kids are getting ready to go back in school here in North Carolina. Kids got another couple weeks. But anyway, good to see a lot of you. Obviously, in the summer, I don't hold quite as many webinars and so forth. Definitely spending that time with family. But it's good to see everybody here, and I'm really excited for this presentation today. Again, I don't think it'll be longer than 30 minutes, folks. You know, one of the feedback I've received over the last 2 or 3 years, great feedback from all of you. Absolutely, John, tons of riding. Thanks for asking. Early in the morning though, because it's super hot, right? But one of the things that I think is very important is to identify trends. And I get that question all the time, even in my mentorship students. How do you identify a trend? And there's many ways, first of all, right? There's not one perfect way of doing that. And I'll show you when we get to live charts, how I've always identified trends. And then, those of you that have been following me for a while understand that I like visuals. I want to be able to look at a chart and be able to make determinations without having to turn my head sideways. Okay. And so when I developed this new indicator, which I call it the STP, Seasonal Trader Pro Magic Cloud, I'm very proud of it for a couple of reasons. One, there's no question, no matter if you're a seasoned veteran as a trader or a brand new trader, is going to be extremely useful for you. Okay, I do have some proprietary calculations in it. Like everything else I teach, though, I keep it simple, right? It doesn't really matter. It just means it's got to be effective for me to even put it on my screen. I have been trading for about 15 years for some of you new folks, and have created well over 100 indicators during those 15 years. But I only have 5 or 6 on my screen, which you'll see. Because I create things, test it. If I don't see a significant advantage, something that makes it much more obvious to make a trade, then I'm not using it, okay? My favorite oscillator, which is that Laguerre RSI I've been using, for about 4 years now. Doesn't mean that will be my favorite oscillator forever. I'm continuing testing, seeing if there's better ways to get entries and exits. But as of right now, it's fantastic. Okay, so the reason I'm bringing that up is I know a lot of you I got a lot of emails on this, a lot of excitement, and I'm very, very excited to show you all this. But trend analysis is super important, and the reason I even bring that up is, why do you think, folks, when you look at a chart, why would it be important to see which direction the trend is? Again, feel free to plug that in if you want to chat. You don't have to, obviously. I'll just wait a couple seconds and then I'll answer my opinion on why it's important to gather which direction the trend is. You've all probably heard the trend is your friend, right? But it really is, because what a trend is, in most cases, is institutional buying, right? Most of your accounts aren't going to move the market, right? If you're trading Apple and you buy 100 shares of Apple, that's not going to really move the market, right? But what do institutions do? Do they buy all at once? Again, I've got some great insight from my client. A lot of my clients are manage hedge funds and stuff. And what they do is they buy during a period of time. So they'll buy, for example, something they like for the next 2 months, depending on how big their hedge fund is. Okay, they can't buy all in one day. So they buy and they buy and they buy and they buy and they buy. And that's what develops trends. Okay, longs and shorts. So today, what I want to present is how I do one of the easiest ways now that this is developed on how to identify trends. okay? And again, I call it the STP Magic Cloud. And you can see on the screen kind of what it looks like there. Again, we will get to some live screen time. I'm not a big PowerPoint, even though I'm a professor at heart, right? I'm not a big PowerPointer because I like to show them live action. But the Magic Cloud is going to do a few things here. The main goal is which direction is the trend based off of my definition with my indicator. Okay, so in this particular underline, you can see where it was red and then it turned back to green. Okay, so during this green, okay, based on my proprietary indicator, you're getting a lot of different things. You're getting institutional buying, you're getting supply and demand increases, you're getting a volume analysis, you're getting quite a few different things that's keeping this cloud green, okay? And then when it gets thinner, okay, it's caution. And it never turned red, right? It never turned red. And so during this time frame, even when the candles were down, the cloud stayed green, meaning we're still more bullish than bearish, okay? The other thing I use, and this is a free indicator, obviously, on any platform, is the Bollinger Bands. So the red is 2.5 standard deviations. The green is 2.5 standard deviations away from the mean. What I love to see, folks, is when price is in a strong trend, and then it retraces. If it retraces to that 2.5 standard deviation, okay, and then it turns back around and the cloud stays green, that's a fantastic opportunity for you, okay? Or vice versa, if we're looking at shorts in a red cloud, okay? Standard Bollinger Bands are usually at 2.0 minus 2.0. I do prefer 2.5, especially in this environment. Okay, I'll even look at 3 standard deviations at times as well, okay? But what this does is it also shows potential support and resistance. So in this case, this price broke through the cloud, but the cloud still stayed green, okay? So what I'm looking for here isn't to sell. What I'm looking for here at this point is if I want to get back in, right, wait for it to come back and get back into that cloud to the upside, okay? It can also help you determine where you take profits and where you put stops. So if you, let's say you were in this trade here, okay? One way of deciding, okay, I'm going to take partial profits if it hits the top of the cloud here, okay? That way you're in the trade, you're doing well, okay? It closes below, within the cloud. I'm not worried about wicks, but it closes within the cloud. Okay, maybe you take part of your position off, if not the full position, okay? And then when it breaks through the bottom, you can exit that trade. Okay, that's a very simplistic way, but effective way of managing that, okay? And as long as it's staying above the cloud, there's no reason for you to get too bent out of shape, right? And in this case, let's say let's say you weren't in this trade, but then you were looking at this, okay? And you're like, okay, well, I'm looking for, my preference is longs because the cloud is green, right, for longs. So then when you can enter back in, one way of when it closes above that cloud. The wider the cloud, the more bullish it is. So in this case, it's not super bullish right here, but you can see how it's respecting the cloud, okay? It's respecting that cloud, okay? And again, I love to use the Bollinger Bands to catch key extension levels there. And this can be used on any time frame, okay? Can use at any time frame. Yeah, so Linda mentions Ikamuko charts. Yeah, so Ikamuko charts is a totally different formula. They're not by any means, they're not very similar at all to what I use, but Ikamuko, just like any other indicator, some just use moving averages. There's a lot of ways that you can determine a trend. Absolutely, Linda, absolutely. I've looked at Ikamuko charts. I've used them in the past. And I've gathered some information based off of that without question. I'm always benchmarking and back testing things based off of different indicators and so forth. Yeah, absolutely. But this is a different formula than Ikamuka. Okay, so here's an example just like with Apple. Okay, And you know, this indicator gives you the daily resistance line as well, so you can always keep an eye on that. And this is a long play. So with Apple, you can see this cloud. Okay, so again, in my candlesticks, I use Ikamoko. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about Ikamoko now, Linda. I use Hakanachi candlesticks, but if you're wondering what the open and close was, the white lines are the open, the red is the close. Okay, folks. But you can see here, you know, again, Apple hit a high at 150, then it went into the cloud. So exit part of that opportunity, right? You made money on this. And then you can see how it's basically just been, here's a nice wick right here, but you can see how it's been good support, right? So the cloud is holding this higher at this point, okay? So my preference is to the long side, okay? Preference is to the long side. And then here's an example of the futures on lumber. So we had the beautiful uptrend, then it switched directions here, okay? And now it's in this downtrend, and we don't know how far that's going to be, right? But we do know one thing, that it's in a very, very strong downtrend here, right? So if you were in this short, you maybe took partial profits right here, and then it's continuing its downward trend, okay? As long as this cloud's staying thick and it's going to respect within this cloud, okay, you're going to have a preference for those short plays, okay? All right, told you it wouldn't take long. I wanted to give you the big picture, and then I wanted to come to some live charts, okay? Okay. So most of the time when I'm showing a new indicator, I only put that indicator on for the most part, because then, you know, I'll confuse people. But what I decided today is I'm going to keep my entire trading system up here, but I'm only going to, obviously we're focusing on the cloud because the cloud is easy to identify, right? It's the green in this case, okay? But I do want to refer to some things as I'm you know, showing you opportunities here, just so you get a feel for how I use it in conjunction with, you know, with my other indicators, okay? So here's the SPY, and this is the daily chart right here, okay? So just focus on this chart right here for now. So you can see on the spider that some of these great opportunities that came up. So back here in June, we had a move down almost to the bottom 2.5 standard deviation band, right? But the cloud stayed green. So in a bullish market, when you get these bigger moves down, okay, like we did back here too, okay, these are great opportunities that if you're not in this trade, right, once it gets back in through the cloud, there's your new long play, okay? And when we're in a bull market, again, this is the ETF, right, the SPY, SPX5, S&P 500, you're going to get that a lot, right? We keep hitting new highs. It's just kind of barely going higher, but it's very strong. So when it gets into this cloud area and then it comes right back out, folks, that's very, very bullish, okay? So you might say, well, okay, well, if I'm trading, how do I get into that when it's strong like that? Well, again, what I like to do, folks, you can go in any time frame, but let me just go to the 4 hour. So now you got the 4 hour cloud, okay? So an opportunity would have been where it got really, really thin here. Okay, we had this 9 o'clock, that might have been earnings. I don't recall when that was, but anyway, right? Then it turned green again. So you can get in off of smaller time frames based on the overall, if you're looking at normally daily, okay? Certainly you can even look at smaller time frames, like let's just bring up the 5 minute on Apple, okay? So, you know, you're gonna have a lot more changes on smaller time frames, right? But you can see how that cloud works no matter what time frame. So back here, you know, it was going, right? And then once it dips into the cloud, okay, it's time to take either exit or take partial profits. And then when it changes, you're out, okay? It's really showing you on whichever time frame you're looking at, the types of buying and selling that's going on there, okay? So some of these should be no surprise, especially if you're looking at, so my weekly seasonal indicator, right? Is bullish. Okay, it's basically bullish for the end of the year. We have a slight dip at the end of August, but other than that, it's heading higher. So, you know, what we look for is opportunities during any sort of retracement, right? So when the market has a couple down days, You should be looking at Apple as a re-enter when you get a trigger, right? You don't just go in, you need that trigger, whether it's a smaller time red to green cloud, whether it's using your oscillator, whatever that system is that you use, the cloud can help identify that, hey, my preference right now, we're in an uptrend, okay? From left to right, this is an easier one to identify, right? Let me just bring up some other examples. So like AMD, okay? So AMD, you can see here on the daily time frame, it changed back to green in May 28th, okay? And you see how it was holding through here, holding, and then even back here, it closed below, but the cloud stayed green, okay? So again, if you weren't in this trade, you then have your new re-enter. When it closes above the green, there you have it. So the reason I wanted to bring AMD in the mix here, a couple reasons. First, so look what happened the last 3 days here. So if you were in this, you hit a new high, and those of you that follow me know, typically when you have a wick like that and a new high, you're absolutely going to get a retracement, okay? So if you're out of this, especially as of right here, or protected yourself at least part of the way out, okay, now was the time. But what's good is, now you can go and say, okay, I'm still very bullish on AMD. So let me go back to a 4-hour chart, just as an example. You see how it's red? When that changes back to green, that could be your entry, okay? That could be your entry. So it allows you to change time frames to have rules of when it's good to go back in. If you don't have rules, this thing could come down to 80, right? We don't know at this point. Only time's going to tell. But you have to have the system in place to understand these trends, okay? And know that, okay, that trend's about over, okay? And here we don't know at this point. We don't know if it's going to respect the cloud area, right? We don't know if it's going to respect it or if it's going to close below, turn red, and then head lower at this point, okay? Looking at seasonality here, typically right around the end of August, AMD dips until October, okay? So we could have another test of highs and a rollover. We don't really know at this point, but if it respects this cloud, you get a trigger off the daily here or a smaller time frame, you can go ahead and take that, right? Comcast, okay, so seasonality wise, it's very bullish. Daily support is at 58.33. That's part of this indicator, okay? And so you can see how it's been respecting the cloud. It wicks, comes right back out, right? Comes right back out. So institutions are buying this, folks. Okay, that's what it is. And typically they do. We know that from the seasonal indicator. So, what I like to do, if you're out of this trade at this point, okay, your best way of getting in is probably off a smaller time frame, or just be patient and wait for this to happen again back here. Wait for it to test this bottom Bollinger Band, okay? As long as the cloud stays green, okay? If it turns red, then just wait. Here, it turned red and then it went right above back here as a potential entry right here, okay? But what you can see real quickly when you look at your charts now, okay, based on my definition, this isn't an uptrend, okay? Bitcoin. So let me just scrunch this up a tad to show you. So back here in April, the cloud turned red, right? So it turned red. And then you see how all these wicks in the cloud stayed red? I mean, that's the beautiful thing. You're like, okay, now I'm just waiting for an entry, right? And then once it closes below that, okay, then you can look to short that. And you see how it respected it here, went into the cloud, so you maybe took some profits here, right? But then it came right back down. And then finally over here, it crossed, the cloud turned green, and now we're, by definition, in an uptrend again, okay? And so when you have these type of trades, look at it. The reason I say we're in an uptrend, you may say, well, this most recent move, and then it's just coming back maybe 50% of this move, so we're still in a downtrend. That's my exact point. Defining a trend depends on multiple factors, right? So I'm just making my rules based on this formula, because you can also say, well, here was the uptrend this way. We had a retracement. Now it's back in the direction of the trend, right? So it's like politics. You can justify left or right anytime you want, right? It's the same philosophy there. But what's happening is institutions are picking this back up now. And I'll be really curious to see if this continues up and hits highs in the next couple months. You know, Bitcoin, once it gets going, look out, right? Made a nice retracement. Now it looks like at this point, it wants to head higher, okay? All right, Google. So again, you can look at this and say, well, yeah, obviously Google's green, it's been green, it's in an uptrend. So all you're looking for, folks, during this, okay, is a buying opportunity, right? It's a buying opportunity. Again, one way of doing it, I love 4-hour charts. Okay, you see how it turned red here a little bit? And then at 5 o'clock Wednesday, it turned green again. Okay, there's a potential re-entry. Or right back here, last Tuesday. Okay, so when you have the bigger picture green, and you get a pullback, once it turns back green can be your entries. Okay, super simple, highly effective. Okay. Live Nation, this is one where I've been looking to enter, okay? And you can see a great seasonal projection, and earnings is over now, and now the cloud just started turning green, okay? So what I'm waiting for now is, so a couple things. Let's say you were an aggressive trader and you wanted to get in. All you could do is you could get in here, right? And then as long as this stays green, you can stay in the trade. If it closes lower and it turns back to red, you then get out. But your risk is going to be low with a potential huge opportunity to the upside. Okay. We do have the Laguerre pointing back up, green Hakanachi. So I like this in many aspects, but now it looks like we have a trend change. Okay. You can say this is a higher low. Now we're, again, by definition, we're in that uptrend. Okay. So it just helps you. Or if you're a more cautious trader, you may want to wait. Let it gain some momentum, get a pullback, and then take it a week, 2-3 weeks from now, right? But again, it's all defined for you based on this ingredient. Facebook, oh, yep, see, Facebook has been bullish. Institutions are buying. So see how it comes down, test. These are my favorite, folks. Let me be clear. When you're in an uptrend, again, or the opposite of a downtrend, right? When you're in an uptrend, it comes down, it almost kisses that 2.5 standard deviation, then it comes right back in. Those are phenomenal trades, okay? Phenomenal trades. So TLT bonds, right? Every year I talk about the June, July, part of August, long play on bonds, right? This is an ETF for the 20 year. So once we're waiting, we get the green cloud, it closes above. Again, you can see how this was just nice support, right? Once it's in this congestion, if it stays in that congestion and continues higher, you're good. Now you're out, right? Now you're out. Okay. Cloud's still green. So if you got in here and you want to keep part of your position, you can absolutely do that. Okay, until that cloud turns red, because you've made a nice winner. But when it typically falls below, I'm out, because what I'm looking for is if it touches this or comes close to that 2.5 standard deviation, and then I get another long trigger and it comes up into the green cloud again, right? You can still get back in. Okay, you can still get back in. So protect your wins, and then you can always re-enter. Here's an example on PKG, okay? Patience, right? Nice uptrend, turn color. And by the way, those of you that use Hakanachi with me in combination, super strong. I'm not talking much about Hakanachi today, because as you know, in my webinars, I try to keep it simple. You can always go to my YouTube channel, look at the Hakanachi stuff. But absolutely, when you get a red cloud with red Hakanachi, the Laguerre back here triggered, meaning you're just waiting for that to happen. That was a very, very predictive trade. We just don't know how far, right? Then it went back into the cloud, and you see how it was fighting in here. There was that inner battle, and then it rolled right back over, okay? Then finally it changed to green, and now we're heading back up. I love this opportunity. You know, your risk is you can put right below the cloud in this case, and you have opportunities to hit those highs, right? So this is something where it's going to really help you stay in those trades. And now you don't have to say, okay, I'm in a downtrend. Some of you saying, well, this still looks like a downtrend, Dr. Keith, right? But again, let me scrunch this up. Is it? This is an uptrend, almost the same amount move downtrend, right? And now it's heading higher. So depending on what time frame, how far you want out, if I scrunch it up to last October, that's an uptrend, right? Okay, so I just identify it when you're looking at daily charts, maybe as your initial, it just helps you identify that. Okay, it helps you identify that. And then you can always say, okay, you know, where's that 4-hour trigger? Right, and then you can say, okay, here's my 4-hour trigger. Okay. Or again, if you're a day trader, you trade stocks, you can go any time frame you want. Okay, you can enter in when you get the crossover, stay in it, and then exit. Okay. All right, so again, we've talked about the S&P. This is the futures to S&P. We bring up Shopify. Shopify, again, you can see here where this is probably my favorite opportunities, right? You're in an uptrend, it comes down, the cloud stays green, but it kisses off that 2.5 Bollinger Band, okay? And just that move from there, folks, it went from, it opened up at 1410, let's call it, and it went up to 1650, okay? Right in through there. Okay, those are beautiful. Now we're consolidating, right? But we're still bullish, even though we're consolidating, okay? All right, what I wanted to do now was type in what you want me to, if you want to see something. Okay, go ahead and give me a stock, futures, for Forex, and we'll take a look at it, okay? Okay, let me put in MOS. All right, so you can see how it's recently changed green again, right? It's a great example. So absolutely it's a bullish move now, okay? And so great question. One of the questions was, so I don't give specific entries and exits. No, I don't like to do that in general because it depends on which time frame and so forth. But I like to leave that to traders. What I show you is the rules I play. So let's say you enter long today on this at the open, okay? Where's my stop going to be? Well, as long as it stays green, my stop is below the most recent swing if I'm okay with that risk, okay? And so it's easy to program, but the problem is you may have a different risk tolerance, okay? But usually what I'm going to do, just to kind of show you on this example, okay, I'm not worried as much about that wick. It's more right here. I'm going to say, okay, if price were to come down to here, okay, then that's my stop loss. And obviously I'll move it up as quickly as I can, okay? So if we entered here, let's say this was the entry, just for sake here, okay? So if I'm okay with that risk from, let's just call it from 30 to 32 or 33. So let's say it's a $3 risk, okay? Then I like to get at least half of that, usually 75% of that at the first profit target, okay? But as long as it stays green, okay, you can say, okay, so I'm going to put my first profit target right here, okay? But if all of a sudden it starts consolidating and you start getting, you know, red cloud, exit with a profit. Don't wait, right? But that's what I like to do is typically whatever my risk is, my first profit target, is going to be at least half of that, if not more. Okay, at least if you do a 1-1, it's even better. Okay, what I don't like as much about this trade is the risk is larger than some other trades you'll find, because you may get the green where a recent swing low isn't as much risk. Okay, because the bottom line is if it breaks through a recent low, get the hell out. Okay, save your money. Okay, so that's why I don't have it programmed in here, because everyone's going to do things differently. Sure, gold. Let's take a look at gold. Oh, and yeah, so why everyone's looking at this, hold on, bear with me 1 second. I'm always bad at this. You will get a recording and sent out to you probably late tonight, early tomorrow morning. Okay, but in the chat box, if it's something you're interested in, you want to get right away, just put the link in the chat. Okay. All right, but so anyway, here's gold. So now gold turned red again. Okay, what I'd be looking for on gold too, just from a pure chart analysis here, if it comes down to this recent low right here, okay, I'd be taking profits. What a great opportunity, right? But you can see the seasonal gold typically until right around November, December now. And then my favorite long play of the year comes. Okay, so gold's bearish typically this time of year now. So in the next move up and it rolls back over, that's another good entry. Okay. Okay, let me see TRV, absolutely. So travelers, see the green just started again. Plus we have a good seasonal movement. Okay, so again, if you enter it on this, you know, when it closed above the cloud, you could have your risk right below these wicks, 146, for example. Okay, so if you got in at the open at 153, okay, that's $7 risk. Okay, then you can decide what is your risk. Is it 1-to-1? Is it, you know, is it 50-to-1? Whatever your risk tolerance is. Okay, some stay might, you know, some, if you're buying the outright stock, you may say, okay, as long as it doesn't close below 144, I'm staying in this for the long haul, because look at that beautiful seasonal on travelers, right? But you're back in that uptrend now. Okay, that's the point, right? All right, WBA. So look at this, great example. Let me blow this up for everybody. This is where patience comes in hand, right? Like, this is trading, I can't have patience. But you see, so today it closed up. The cloud's still red though, okay? Cloud's still red. So those of you that use the Hakanachi system of mine, were green there, you could absolutely go long, put a tight stop, right? Because if it turns around, you're out, who cares, right? But if you're just waiting for the cloud to change 1 or 2 more bars, more than likely you'll be green, and it'll probably come up and test this 56 level, right? So you can wait and be patient for that green cloud. Yeah, PayPal, sure. So PayPal's in that downtrend now. You see how today it kicked back down, okay? So that cloud, it hit the cloud, and the cloud said, you get out of here. All right, you keep going down. But what we're looking for is if you know, how it's supporting that cloud. So during this uptrend on PayPal, once it turned back to green, you see how it really held within that. Here's a great example here. It held, okay? And then when it finally closed through, now we're back into a short-term downtrend, because big picture on PayPal, what do you think? Probably an uptrend, right? So when we get another opportunity to go long on PayPal, okay, let's say in 3 days you get a green cloud, right? You can put your stop below this risk here, okay? Okay, so BABA, again, red cloud has been respecting that pretty good, right? We had one reversal right here, but other than that, it's been red since May, okay? So what is that telling you? Institutions are offloading BABA right now, right? So you probably want to only look for shorts. You know, ADX is red, meaning you're getting some sideways movement here. I'm sorry, it's yellow. You're getting some sideways movement here. But if I had to do a play on BABA, sentiment's bearish. Okay. Daily resistance is 202.32 up here. Okay. Definitely more bearish than bullish. Sure, ATVI. So again, we're testing this now, right? We're getting a Laguerre trigger. Earnings is over. Okay. So what we're looking for here is what's it going to do now, right? Is it going to come up, fiddle daddle within this cloud and then roll right back over, right? Then you could short it. Or if it comes up, breaks through, cloud turns green, then you can look forward to head back higher, right? So Bill, someone like you that got most of my stuff, right? You would have looked for a short play on this Laguerre. You'd be in the trade still. You might have taken some profits here, but there's no reason to fully exit this trade yet unless it breaks through that cloud. Okay. Natural gas. And yeah, I'm showing a lot of stocks because that's what a lot of you are asking. Absolutely, futures and Forex, it works for everything. Okay. So natural gas, again, very, very bullish, right? So when you get these pullbacks, folks, breaks back through, there's your entry, okay? So right now is a pretty good entry. My issue right now, in all honesty, I don't like to get in that close to highs though, okay? I like bigger pullbacks because I feel that a lot of times a new recent high could be the high for a while. But this is a super bullish trend, absolutely, on natural gas. Yeah, I'm with you 100%, John. Absolutely. Okay. Okay. So over the next 72 hours, folks, I'm taking $150 off this launch deal. So it's $449. You saw in the chat, I'll post it again as well, the link if you're interested in it. Again, where it's super useful, in my opinion, is really helps you to find trends and then stay in them. Look for support and resistance levels. It's kind of an all-in-one stop there. So again, if you're interested, fantastic. It'll be an instant download. And then if you have any questions, let me know. The other thing is, if you have questions, make sure you're emailing me. This is my personal cell phone, folks. Okay. This is the Facebook. I'll put the Facebook link in there as well. And if you're not part of my twice a month webinar that I just go over market analysis, you should sign up for it. Once fall hits, I do it weekly. But again, just different ways of getting in touch with me if you have questions. Okay. Now, let me go back here where I got a couple more requests. KKR. So again, thanks for this example. Another perfect example of what I look for. Look at this, folks. It doesn't get any better than this. You see how it kissed that 2.5 standard deviation and then went above cloud? Wham. Okay. Now you're in defense mode. You're like, if it gets into this cloud, I'm going to take some profits. But that's a great example on KKR. Okay. Perfect example. Let's see, Bank of America. Yeah, I'm gonna look at Bank of America. And again, these are all daily. Again, if you're shorter term traders, you can go off any time frame you want. Okay. So now we're on the long side of Bank of America, plus the seasonal agrees with it. So one way of entering, if you don't want to go in, right away, look for the next 4-hour entry. Okay. Whether you get a retracement or it turns red again, like it did back here, wait for that new entry. Okay. So let's say you're looking at something like Tesla. Okay. I know some of you day trade Tesla. So let's do a 1 minute on Tesla. Okay. This is today. So if you're looking to day trade, let me grab it for today. 2 o'clock, you had a nice short, right? Then you're consolidating. Then it closes above the green. Then you're out. So if you like those shorter time frames, it really helps you with that trend direction. Okay. Big picture on Tesla, right? What are we? We're in an uptrend based on my definition. Okay. Sure. Yeah, I can put the ES on there. Show you the 1 minute. Ah. So this is the perfect example, right? Touch that 2.5 standard deviation on the 1 minute, bam. Okay. So obviously you can look at this real quickly, and this is the main goal, folks. From 3 o'clock on, you're in a downtrend. Okay, you didn't have to think about it. Based on what I've created, okay, you are now in a downtrend. Okay. Let me bring up the, so some of these trends, like right here, right, it held and then went higher. Okay. But let me bring up the market opening. All right. So the market opened up right here at 9:30. Okay. And then green. That's a nice move on the 1 minute, right? So if you entered in at the when it went right here, closed above there, this is a nice move. This is a nice move. Okay. So again, any time frame, you can look at larger time frames. I like to start with the daily. Okay. All right. So again, folks, if you're interested, I put this in the chat. Let me just do it one more time because there's a lot of chat there. You will get this recording as well. Sure. Let me look at one more for Alan. Alan, hope you're doing well. AQMS. So here's where it's breaking above. This is the interesting thing, right? Great example, Alan. So we don't know yet, right? We don't know if this 2.5 standard deviation is going to be support, or I should say resistance, where it's going to come back down, or if this ends up going up and turning green, then you're back into an uptrend, right? So far, though, like Garen the Hakanashi says uptrend, but the cloud is saying, wait a minute, okay? Wait a minute. And when you go look a little bit further back, right, the bigger picture, more red than green. So we're actually more in a downtrend. So what I like there, I like this more for a short play, plus the 5-year seasonal is pointing down. So I would love to see if this holds. Okay, that'll be interesting. I'll have to write that down and look at it, Alan. Okay. All right, folks. Well, I was 42 minutes. I was going to be 30. I apologize for that, but hopefully you enjoyed the presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to, again, let me bring up you can always text me right here, or email support@seasonaltraderpro.com. Here, I'll put that in the box as well for you all. If you don't have any questions, again, best of luck regardless. Try to sign up for my bi-weekly webinar though. Lots of valuable information in there. Other than that, folks, have a great rest of the night, and I'll see you soon. Take care, everybody.